Look, you guys know that I really do stand by the calories in, calories out equation, but I also do know that there are some people who seem to never gain weight. I mean, you probably have friends like that. They just seem to eat whatever they want. They just seem to be naturally thin. I mean, my boyfriend is one of those people who is long, tall, and skinny, but he can and he does put on weight if he eats too much. So I think it is a myth that there is just this natural thin person, but there are people who, obviously, there are people who are born longer and taller and skinnier. So visually, they look thin almost no matter what, because even if they pile on a few kgs, they are not shorter, their musculature is not thicker. So they have that longer, leaner look. But there are people who, like I say, they seem to eat whatever they want and just stay thin. So in today's video, I want to go over some of the habits of these people who are quote unquote naturally thin, or they just seem to stay thin. And the first one, the one that I've noticed for myself in all the thin people, is that they just keep busy. They are busy throughout the day and they just don't eat all day long. They don't graze, they don't snack, they really just keep themselves busy. And so they eat to fuel their day. Obviously, they eat when they're hungry. But number one, I think they just get on with their life and they keep busy. The second one is that they don't feel compelled to finish every bite of food on their plate. Thin people, or people who manage their weight well, will eat until they are full and then they stop. Even if there's one bite left, one slice of pizza, there is half a sausage, whatever it is left on their plate, they don't feel compelled to finish their food. And I think it's I don't know if it's dangerous, but it's not a good thing to force your kids to finish their food. Anyway, I, for one, as a mother, don't force my kid to finish his food. I always tell him, you stop when you're full. And at the moment, I mean, okay, he's 15, but he is a tall, skinny teenager, and he does. When he's full, he stops. Number three is that skinny people don't diet. And by diet, I mean, obviously, they may try different styles of eating or whatever, but in general, when their weight is in balance and they are in a thin phase, they are not in a restrictive mode. They are not cutting out certain foods. They are not limiting anything. They are not trying to be on a diet. Because what I've noticed is that, like naturally thin people, and again, I think it's a bit of a myth, they just do these things unconsciously, I think, is naturally thin people eat what they really, really want to eat. So they are not restricting themselves. But then, like I said, they stop when they're full. So there's none of this like restriction and then binging. There's none of this eating something you don't really want, but then still craving the thing you really want, and then just going and binging on that thing you were craving, or limiting yourself and then feeling guilty if you eat it, and then out of the guilt you eat more of it. Or you really want a cookie, you deny, then you eat the cookie, and now because you've been in denial, you eat the whole packet. I think people who manage their weight and sort of stay reasonably and relatively slim and thin, they just eat what they want when they want it, and then they just stop when they're full. And back to point number one, they're busy, they're doing other things. And so point number four is that they don't think about food all day long. People who are naturally thin just, like I say, they get on with their lives, they're busy, they're active, or they have busy jobs. They're just getting on with other things. They're not sitting there obsessing over food all day long. Like I say, if they are not restricting themselves or putting themselves on a diet, they just, I feel like that. They eat it when they're full, they're done, and they move on and they get on with being busy. Number five, naturally thin people. And I remember this from when I was it's called tech here. It's like a practical university. I don't know if there's an equivalent overseas, but there was this guy who was super rail thin, but he was very fidgety. And I've noticed that people who are naturally thin are very active physically. Even if they are not athletes, they will fidget, they'll move about. When they talk, maybe they'll pace while they're on the phone. They are like, sometimes maybe it's too hyper, but you'll see people that are slim, slender, thin. They are not slow and lethargic, and they don't just sit there. They kind of want to do stuff. They move around when they talk. They're bouncy. They've got that high energy. not always. I mean, obviously this is a generalization, but it's something that I have noticed in people that are kind of slim and they don't seem to think or worry about their weight. They're just kind of active people. And maybe that's genetic, I don't know, but it is something that I've noticed. Now, the last point, and this is a little bonus one, is I've noticed that slender, slimmer people, that they're not often major foodies. There could be exceptions to this rule. Obviously, there are exceptions to anything. And this is just a list that I've come up with that I've noticed in slimmer people. But in general, they are not always like trying out the latest restaurant. They're not always trying out new recipes. They don't get so excited about food like the rest of us do. And I wouldn't class myself as a naturally thin person. I do have to portion control to a degree. I do have to watch what I eat to a degree. Look, I'm not obese, I'm not overweight, but I do have a tendency, as you guys who've been with me for a few videos now, you know that when I was 18, 19, I did pack on a little bit of extra weight. I have a tendency to emotionally eat. So for me, I will think about food. I will think about the foods I crave. I will eat out of boredom, anger, stress. But naturally thin people, they don't find food as exciting, I'm guessing. And also, I think they don't turn to food for comfort. They don't eat out of emotion. For them, food really is a fuel. They may enjoy their food. I mean, they may get a craving. They feel like ice cream. They'll go and get an ice cream, and then they just move on with the rest of their lives. Now, wouldn't it be nice to be like that? Look, I'm not like that. But I think we can, in general, if we want to be managing our weight well, in general, we can put food in its place, meaning we just treat food as maybe not fuel, because food does have real value and meaning in our society. We bond over food, we get together and we share meals. And look, there is something special about food. And unlike other things that you're trying to give up, you cannot just cut food out of your life. It's impossible. So we have to find ways to manage food and manage our cravings. And I think to just try and put food in its place and say, if I'm craving something, I will eat it. But if I just eat that thing, it's okay. I don't need to eat 10 or 20 of them, for example, a cookie. Just put it in its place. And I think that really will go a long way towards managing and maintaining your weight for life for a long period of time. But I do have to say this. I'm guessing you came here because you are interested in losing weight. And I just want to say to you, you are beautiful as you are. And I know you're going to say, yeah, I don't believe that. But you really are. Who you are on the inside doesn't change when you lose weight. Your value as a human being doesn't change when you lose the weight. So just be okay with who you are now. I know you want to get there. You want to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30, 40, 50, whatever it is. I know that. And we can do that by tweaking things, by adjusting our diet, by changing our habits, looking at the habits of thinner, skinnier people, and maybe mimicking those habits. That's fine and good and well. But during that journey, please don't lose sight of your self-love. Don't lose sight of the fact that you are talented and amazing and gorgeous, with or without the weight. The weight, we all gain and lose weight throughout our lifetimes. Weight is not who you are. It is your physical self. It's fine. Go on your weight loss journey, but I just want you to do it with a lot of self-love, a lot of self-compassion, and just to be kind to yourself along the journey. So if you slip up and you eat 10 cookies, stuff it. Or as my partner says, now I'm going to swear, chuck it in the bucket. Just move on. Never, 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 please, never feel guilty if you don't get to the gym, if you eat the wrong foods, if you fall off your diet. Just get back on it the next day. And I just want to say, if you've been with me for a few videos, you will see I've got a brand new hairstyle. I simply plaited my hair and slept in the plaits, or the braids, as you guys would call it. So, okay, I did it myself. There's one or two little lumps there we go. That looks better. But isn't it cool? Fun, hey? I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.